Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I feel like it's been so long since we painted together and had a chit chat, so I thought I would do this today. And also, I've been asked a lot to paint a cat. And I have a funny story to tell you, but first, we're gonna do the background wash on this cat, and I'm gonna sketch it with you in a minute, but I've already sketched it on another piece of paper and transferred it here. And I'm using a piece of wax paper, and I am just going to, I'm going to use this to be able to put my whiskers in, so instead of masking, this is going to be my masking, so I'm just drawing over the wax paper, like the ears and around the mouth, and putting in the little whiskers. This should give me just enough of the wax resist, hopefully, when I paint this. We'll see. Alright, so I've got my little wax lines on there. Now I'm just going to do a background wash with some ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna, and I still have that on there from my watercolor that I did with the snow scene. And can you believe it's been that long that I have done a painting tutorial? Oh my gosh, it's like almost 2 weeks. I have done little bits of painting here and there, but nothing too... I don't know, nothing with my big palette, I guess. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to wet the entire paper. And I know you're thinking, well, that paint's going to go on top of the cat, but that's alright because I'm going to keep this wash pretty much focused to the outside. And plus I don't want stark white on the white parts of the cat. It's a tiger cat. Actually, this painting, the photo is from, I really get the name here. It's from Paint My Photo. The photographer is Lisa Martin. And this is her cat, I guess. But it looks an awful lot like the cat we just adopted. So the funny story is, so this gray is just burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. My husband had the day off, and so we went out to lunch, and this was Friday, and he needed an aquarium filter. So he went to the pet store, and I went next door to Ulta, because I'd never been to Ulta before, and oh my gosh, I love that store, but that's another story for another day. So I was kind of rushing in Ulta because I was afraid that Jason was sitting in the car waiting for me, like, you know, men do when women are in stores that they like. And so I didn't want to have him wait too long, so I had rushed out and he wasn't in the car, so I decided to go see if he's still in the pet store. And they had a woman from the Humane Society there with a bunch of adorable cats, and he was looking at them, and I was like, oh, those are nice. And then one of the cats just started meowing at me and being very, very sweet. And you know, so I was like, oh, this is a sweet cat. My cat had passed away a couple of years ago, and I just hadn't, I just hadn't gotten another one. We have a dog and fish and chickens, and I thought that's probably enough animals for us. But this cat was being so sweet, but I was like, oh, I don't want to impulse get a cat because, you know, that's a 20-year commitment. So we left the store without the cat, much to the dismay of the Humane Society worker. And so we got home, and you know, I was thinking about the cat the whole drive, and if I'd still been in Bangor, I probably would have gone back and gotten the cat. So when the kids got home, my husband told them that that your mother almost brought home a cat. So of course they were like, Mom, we gotta have a cat. And I was like, well, I'll call and see if the cat's still there. And the cat had been adopted. So I said, well, it's not meant to be. I'm gonna flick some water on here just to give a little texture into the background. And so, you know, the kids just, they got the idea of the cat into their head now, and they wanted a cat. And so the next day, my husband took one of my daughters out, and I said, you know, I trust your judgment. You know, we called the cat had been adopted. And so they went to go look at cats. And a few hours later, they came back with a beautiful tiger cat. Had a little bit of a mangled tail. Had been there the longest, so of course they wanted to adopt that one to make sure he got a good chance at life. And very sweet, sweet animal. And so my husband was telling me, you know, the cat's been here a long time, and we want to get him because we were afraid that no one would adopt him. But it was between this cat and this other one. The other cat was very sweet too and lovable. And then he goes, and we'll pick her up on Monday, and then scooted out of the room really quick. So I will have 2 cats by Monday. Oh my goodness, what a change of life events. Alright, so I'm gonna let this dry. See, it's just I just got the little bit of a modeling there with the flicked water, and we're gonna let that dry. And I'm just gonna show you my basic sketch here, and I'll draw it with you so that you can get a feel for how to do this. Just use any old pencil. We're going to look at the basic shapes now. I'll put a link below to this photo so you can look at it too and follow along. And I think I'll also just scan this and put this up on my, scan the drawing and put that up on my blog so that you'll be able to download it. If you don't feel like drawing, or maybe you don't get it quite right, you can just use mine. So I'm going to start with this this oval here, and that represents kind of like the whole back of the cat. Alright, it's so much easier to draw if you look at a picture and just get the basic shapes down. And I've got this other one here kind of for the chest and the front of the cat, and then I got this other kind of triangular oval for the face. I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna draw this really dark. I don't think you can see that. I'm gonna make that really dark. Don't draw it this dark on your paper, and actually I recommend you draw it on scrap paper and then transfer it with transfer paper, or just, you know, color the back. Like if I colored the back of this with graphite, then I could set that down on my watercolor paper and trace over it and get my graphite lines that way. That way you don't have to do any erasing on your paper. That's kind of hard on watercolor paper. And then just checking the angle of the top of the head, and I'm going to put a line right down the middle of the face. That's going to be where I'm going to line my eyes up, and kind of a line in between that and the chin for where the top of the nose is going to go. And I also want to get the ears in there. They kind of line up with the side of the face. And over here, and the cat is very sweet. I've only had one cat before, and it was I kind of got guilted into taking it because I had a coworker who had to get rid of his cat because his son was coming to live with him and he was allergic, and it was kind of a miserable cat. I mean, I love the cat and all, but it was not very friendly. It was miserable, didn't like people. So I thought long and hard before I was going to accept another cat. Alright, so now we're going to kind of connect these lines. Notice I'm not putting any detail in yet because it's a lot easier to erase something now than after I've spent a lot of time on detail. Now I'm going to bring down some lines for the legs. And I think I've got this cat a little tall, so let me just shorten him up a little bit. The back leg there. Okay, get the front leg in here like that. And again, you know, I'll have the pattern if you don't feel like doing the drawing yourself, and I gotta have the other leg over here more. And see, when it's bold like this, I'm not gonna cry about erasing some of these lines. You know, I spent like a couple minutes on it, so hope my story didn't take too long. Hope that wasn't boring. Alright, so we've got that with the back of that leg kind of coming up and meeting in with the oval. Sometimes you need to round things out a little bit more. That's not a big deal. It's so much easier to do it at this stage of the game. And then you get the whole gesture of the cat's whole attitude when the way they're sitting and stuff. Now for the facial features, I just want to make sure I have the, I'm thinking the chest might need to be out a little bit more, and maybe that leg forward and this leg backward a little bit more. Alright, so for the facial features, I like to start with a nose. I'm going to start with a line down the center too, just help me keep things lined up. I'm going to start with the nose. Whoops! Mechanical pencil, broke my lid. And if I have the angle here, I have all these angles matching, so I'm not going to end up with crooked eyeballs or anything. So I got the mouth and little cat mouth there. Sometimes I like to go just a little bit up to make it look like a happy cat, not a grumpy cat. And then I've got each of the eyes. I start with kind of like a I don't know what you call it, like a rounded angle, kind of. And then I kind of go from there. Try to get the tops matched. The eyes are a little too far apart there, so what I'm going to do is move it closer. But see, since I haven't spent that much time on it, I'm not going to fret about that. So actually, I think the inside of the cat's eye should be lined up with the edge of the nose. I don't know if this is going to be, I don't think this is going to be a 20-minute video, folks. Sorry to tell you, I think this one might be a long one. That's alright, we gotta have one of those once in a while. I gotta just chill out and paint. Easy does it once in a while. And get the little... I don't really need to put too many details in this point. And you know, I did the whiskers with wax paper, but they would be in there, and in there, and then, you know, I wouldn't bother putting the striping in yet. I would do that when I go to paint. I can't really see where the tail goes in the picture because it's very shadowy there. Whoops. Man, oh man, I'm having a rough time with this mechanical lead. I think actually the back paw is kind of out a little bit more. think this does need to come down a little bit lower. But you know, I do that here and then I don't have to erase a bunch of stuff on my good watercolor paper. Alright, so I'm going to check in and see how my watercolor paper is doing here. I think I need to dry it. Let me pause the video camera and dry it, and we'll be back to start painting the cat. Okay, this is pretty dry. You can always tell, like I put my hand down on my paper like this, and then if it feels room temperature or warm to the touch, it's dry. If it feels cool to the touch, it's still a little damp. Of course, my studio, this time of year, everything's cool to the touch, but what are you gonna do? All right, so I'm going to, I'm just gonna wet my palette, kind of move some of that out of the way. I've already used these colors, so I don't necessarily want to wash my palette because it's gonna help harmonize my other colors. I'm going to use, I think I actually might get some burnt umber this time, or this might be, you know what, that's not burnt umber, I think that's Van Dyke brown. Let's see, let's go over here. I usually don't use burnt umber, so it might not want to release too easily for me, but I just wanted kind of more of that sooty brown. It's got less warmth to it. I kind of wanted a little bit of that. I am going to use some burnt sienna or Indian red, one or the other. I'm going to use that one right there. It might be an English red. It looks a little bit redder than my burnt sienna, but that'll be my red. I'm not going to use like a red. So let's grab some of that. That is a lovely color. I think it's English red actually. I like to get nice big juicy puddles of paint on my palette so that I don't have to stop. Now I know I'm going to need some yellow for the eyes, but it's not like super yellow, so I think I'm going to go with yellow ochre because I know I can use that in this whole mix and keep it very harmonious. So we're at like 4 colors now because I have the ultramarine blue I already had out there. So really I've got a red, yellow, blue, and then I've got that other neutral. I probably could do it even without that yellow, the other neutral, but sometimes I like that, the contrast. It's sedimentary colors granulate differently. It just gives a different feeling to the picture. So if you don't have burnt umber and you want to make your own, feel free to do so. I just sometimes like to use a color I'm not that used to, and I like the granulating properties of different sedimentary colors. So you know, I just want to put that out there. So really we've got red, yellow, blue. It's primary colors. It's the same primary color mixing that you're used to. We're just doing it with colors that you might not be as familiar with. And I'm going to use just a round brush, and I'm going to start in with whoops, I keep wanting to go to that color, but that's not the right color. That color, I think that's Van Dyke brown or something. It's very it's almost like yellow. It has like a yellow undertone. It's very strange. Okay, so I think I'm actually gonna go in. I'm gonna start off kind of dry. I think with juicy paintbrush, dry paper, and I'm gonna get the back of the cat just like this. Now I like my credit card scraper tool, which I'm telling you I'm out of sorts because I haven't painted in a few days. I'm actually gonna flick while this is I'm just gonna flick out a few bits here. And since these colors are sedimentary, I can go in and lift them and move them around after I'm done. I don't want to make him like mangy looking, but I do want some texture in there. And basically I'm blocking in color. Let's get this down to the tail. And I'm not going to be too descript down here because we're going to have some shadows down there, so I'm not even going to worry about that area too much. I'm just going to kind of put in my stripes because I feel like I need that to help define. I might end up painting them again because I'll probably lose a lot as I'm going, but I just want to get that in there. I don't know if I've ever painted a cat before, so this might, but I don't think anything's any harder to paint than anything else. It's just whatever you happen to be inspired by at the moment. So I know some people will start with landscapes because they think it's easier. I don't think anything is any easier than anything else. It's just whatever you're, you know, inspired for at the moment. And since I have a brand new cat, I am inspired by the cat. And if I'm down here painting the cat, I'm not upstairs, you know, chasing it around, trying to hold it. Actually, he's really fit in very well. Jason actually took the dog with him just in case he thought he might want to introduce the dog before they decided who to adopt. But the cat and the kids and the dog all got along. I mean, because my other cat like hid for weeks when I brought him home and was not keen on kids and dogs, and this cat just seems to take it all in stride. I'm a lucky fit. Alright, so this brush is kind of big, so I gotta be careful or I gotta switch to a smaller brush, but I do like to start off my paintings with a larger brush. So that's what I'm doing here. Now I'm gonna grab a little of the yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt sienna, just kind of warm it up a little bit and kind of get into the chest area with that. And down here we get a little bit more of that warmer color. Notice how I'm not really cleaning my brush in between colors. I'm trying to keep the keep everything kind of harmonious, and I can always go in with more detail later. I'm more concerned with getting the right value, like how light or dark something is. I'm more interested in the values at this moment rather than the actual colors, or rather than the actual details. I don't worry about details till the end. I think paintings get very fussy looking when you do that. I don't want a fussy painting. I'm definitely a loose watercolor painter. Okay, back to that darker color. I'm very curious to see how this is going to turn out. This is like one of the first pictures I saw too. I searched cats on Paint My Photo, and this one came up first, and I was like, you know what, I don't need to look anymore. I think this is it. You just know when you see the right image, just like when you're walking and you're going to paint out in life. You just know when you see like a scene, you see something, you're just like, yep, that's what I want to paint. That's it right there. All right. Now I'm hoping that I'm getting a little blue here. I'm hoping that the wax paper resist will show up. I'm not sure if it will or not, because I don't know if my colors are going to be dark enough. It's showing up a little bit there. There we go. And I was feeling a little blah all week. That's another reason I didn't do a chatty video. I wasn't feeling very chatty. I was feeling very blue, I guess. I don't know why. I was just kind of feeling yeah, I'll get those days, I guess. I don't feel like chit-chatting in videos when I'm feeling like that. I don't want to spread my grief around. And nothing to have grief over. It was absolutely no reason for it. Just feeling kind of you know. Not a thing wrong, just feeling block. Didn't want to bring you guys down, that's for sure. Yeah, I love these natural colors. And I think what I'm going to do here, because I've got this lovely juicy color in here, but I don't really need it that dark. Now it is going to dry lighter, but I think what I'm going to do here, now that I've got this, this bluish gray is kind of my white, I think I'm actually going to scrape in some hairs, and then I think I'm going to lift out some of the color. Okay. Now my little scraper, oh, look at that, sitting in a puddle of red here. That wasn't very smart, Lindsay. Let's just wipe that right off. There we go. No harm, no foul. Yeah, this is going to be longer than 20 minutes. I can tell you right now. It's 18:02 right now. Oh, well, that's all right. It's a Sunday. I don't got much going on today. I'm going to volunteer to decorate some wreaths for the Boy Scout wreath sale. Oh, that's another reason I didn't too many chatty videos this week. I've been very busy with different things that kids are involved in. They're all playing basketball. They all made the team. I'm very happy. I was a little nervous for them. I never had any athletic ability, and I just remember trying out for things when I was in junior high and high school and not making it. Actually more junior high. I think I'd given up on the my athletic career by the time high school rolled around. Oh, look at this. You know what? I think that wax helped, because look, I'm scraping in here and I'm getting a nice white line. Let me bring that up closer. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can now. Do you see how I got these little white hairs up there now? That's perfect. I don't know if it's because I put the wax down and it's helping me scrape off, or I just timed it right. Could be either. I think I want to do that in the other ear though too, because I like the way that looks. Yeah, so I'd kind of given up, which is sad, you know. I think, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed sports that much. I'm not, but I tried out for my mime troupe when I was in 7th grade, and it's a very traumatic story. I did not make the mime troupe. I was very upset. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought I was a pretty good performer. Yeah, here I'm getting darker lines. I gotta let that dry a little more. But I was a chunky kid, and I think they probably didn't want a chunky mime. It doesn't look good in the black jumpsuit. Not an attractive look. I think that's probably one of the reasons. Or maybe I was no good. Or maybe I talked too much. That's probably it. They don't like their mimes to be too chatty. Mime troupe. What school has a mime troupe? The school I went to, that's where. It seems so normal back then. It's like, that's really bizarre. Their school had a mime troupe, now that I think about it. Okay, and now I feel I do have to block in some color here, and the face is a lot warmer. I know this looks like a train wreck at the moment, but I have hopes that this will go. You know what? If I'm uploading it, it probably came out good. So if you're about ready to hit the stop button thinking, Lindsay does not know how to paint a cat, what the heck am I watching? If I uploaded it, then I must have thought it had some merit. There are things that don't get uploaded. I know that's probably hard to believe. You're probably thinking of all the stuff she uploads, there's stuff that doesn't make the cut. But there is, honestly. And you can see how this is a really soft brush. You can see how liftable these colors are in this paper. I'm just working on inexpensive Strathmore 400 series. I can show you the lid here. This stuff goes on sale. Oh, it's upside down too. It goes on sale all the time at the craft stores, and that's one of the reasons I use it here, because I know it's easy to find, at least in the United States. I'm not sure about other areas, but it's easy to find and inexpensive in the States. It goes on sale for like $5 a pad, so I like to use things that people can find. The yellow pads of Strathmore I'm not as keen on. They don't seem to, the texture is really weird. It looks like if somebody drove train tracks or a tractor over it. It's a very weird texture. I don't like the yellow one. It tends to buckle more. And you know what, if you have some of that, use it for practice. Don't throw it away or anything, or use it for card making where you're not necessarily going to get the paper as wet. But if you are having those problems, it's not you, it is that paper. It happens to be kind of rough to work on. Fine for, I know it's fine for children, like you'd have them use less quality materials, but they're usually not getting the papers wet or working quite as long on a painting as you would be as an adult. You spend a little more time. So if you're spending more time on a painting, you kind of need a paper that's going to handle it, that's going to stand to the reworkings and not get all buckly and not pill and stuff. So the 400 series is markedly better than the yellow label Strathmore, which I think is 300 series. But use it. If you have it, use it. It's useful for some things, but if you're finding you're frustrated, that's probably why. Now for the nose, it's much more red. I am using the light red or English red, whatever that. It's almost like burnt sienna, but it's a little bit more red. I'm using that. All right, now I'm going to switch to a stiffer brush so I can actually kind of sculpt through some of these colors. And actually, you know what? Before I do get rid of this, I think I'm going to put... this cat is sitting on steps, but I think I'm going to have the cat sitting on fabric, and I think I might use blue, because... maybe like a blue velvet, because I feel like that's the least used color in this picture, so I thought that would be kind of cool to use it. I get asked about my paints, and a couple times this weekend I was asked by 2 different people what I prefer, pan or tube paints, and it is a question that I get asked quite a bit. I think they're equal. It's more what you prefer than anything. I prefer to work from paint in a palette, but I usually buy it by the tube and squeeze it out. But I do have like my Cotman palette that is those pans were purchased, and then I just refill it with watercolor. And I like to use the Graham paints because they're designed to be squeezed out and left to dry. I know a lot of I haven't had a problem with doing this with any watercolor paints, except sometimes the student grade stuff gets very cracky, kind of cracks, and you have to add like glycerin to it. It might be a little bit harder to re-wet, but for the most part I've had really good luck doing that. So I just wanted to let you know. Graham and Company, and they tend to be cheaper than other brands per milliliter. I think that's how it works out. But and the reason I luckily happened to invest in this brand is because my local store had 40% off list on it, and then I bought like all the colors, and I asked if I could get a deal if I bought them all, and they gave me a great deal. So that's why I happen to have have all those colors. Unfortunately, that store is no longer around. All right, my water pump is going off, so what I think I'm gonna do is let my paper dry and come back in a moment and we can finish this up. Okay, I'm back. It's actually like a couple hours later, but my cat is all dry. I actually started another crafting project that hopefully I'll be able to bring to you later. It's one of those things that got to dry for a long time before you do anything type of projects, but so everything's dried. And now what I'm going to do, I've actually switched over to this, this is actually a cat's tongue brush, but you can use any, like a synthetic, actually I don't think this one's going to be stiff enough. I'm going to grab this one. It's just a synthetic flat. Might be a little big for my needs, but what I'm doing is actually wetting the eye area and scrubbing back any paint that I don't want in the eye area, just kind of lifting it up. I'm actually going to move this around because when I'm lifting, I like to kind of scrub towards the edge I'm trying to lift. Kind of like when I'm doing marker, if I'm using like alcohol based markers. And then we're going to make ourselves some green for the eye. And I'm going to use that yellow ochre and ultramarine blue because I'm not introducing any new colors at this point. And you know, it's not that, they're not really that bright of a green either. You know, when you look at least this tiger cat, the eyes are not super bright green. They're almost like a gray green. And I think this will be a really nice color for that. I'm just going to go ahead and paint the eyes in, and then I'm going to go in with just the yellow ochre and add some of that, and that's just going to give it a little more luminosity. Luminosity? I think that's the right idea, the right word. Ooh, that looks very bright. I'm just dabbing my brush off and picking this up. And I'm actually going to fill in the whole eye because I'll be going in later with some dark color. Alright. Now, I think I'll do, I'm going to scrub out some of the whiter areas, and I'm going to use a natural bristle brush for this. Hopefully, yeah, I got this one right here. Just like a hog brush, like a oil painter's brush, natural bristle brush there. I always use it, you know, have a few handy for my watercolor, and I'm just scrubbing out some areas where I want lighter fur. And it's not going to come back to pure white, but that's alright. I don't want it pure white because that's why I did the toning out of everything in the beginning. Pure white is going to look unnatural. If I need to get the whiskers pure white, those are the only things I'm going to want pure white, and I can go in and do that with a razor blade since my colors weren't dark enough for that wax paper resist to really show up. Just be careful when you're doing the lifting. I see I've got a little bit of a paper pilling there. This paper not being 100% cotton probably isn't quite strong enough for too much lifting, but I think it'll be, for the amount that I have to do, I think it'll be fine. So I'm just a little bit of scrubbing here and blot, and that's just going to give me the lighter colors that I need. I feel super mellow. I just had lunch, probably logy. I had some red beans and rice and tofu, and an apple, and some potato chips. I'm not perfect. A little bit of light down here. Okay, and like I said, we can go in with a razor blade and X-Acto knife, and we can cut out any like really bright whiskers that we want to do. Okay, now we can start going in with some detail, and I did want to use this brush. I kind of like it. I had purchased it probably like a month and a half ago, and we've talked about this. We've used it before. The number 6 Cat's Tongue by Princeton Art and Brush Company. And it was pretty inexpensive. I think it was about $5, which isn't bad for a good brush. And what I like about it is I can use it almost like a flat, but it also comes to a nice point, like a round, so I can kind of get a lot of bang for my buck here. And I'm just gonna go in and start adding some detail. And excuse me, I'm gonna have to move my picture around as I go, just because I want to make sure that the parts that I'm demonstrating are so you can see them, but also I want to make sure that I have a comfortable way to reach everything. So see, I got that little bit of dark in there. I'm going in with the striping, and I'm using the burnt umber for this. Pretty much on its own, but if yours isn't dark enough, you can go ahead and add some ultramarine to it. Here I'm doing the markings over the eyes. Again, please go to Paint My Photo. I'll put a link below to this exact picture. Now, I know some of you guys don't like the fact that you have to go sign up at Paint My Photo to look at these pictures. I could share, I think I could probably share more direct links, but you know, I just feel that, you know, somebody was kind enough to share their photographs and allow us to paint them, that I think that we can go and just take a look at who painted it, who photographed it, and it's free. It's not costing you anything. It's a wonderful community. So so that's, you know, that's why I'm sorry that some of you guys don't want to do something you have to type your email address into, but I really appreciate them sharing these photographs. So so that's why. If you know, think about that. If you are working hard on a project, you know, wouldn't you rather people come to your website to see it, or your blog to see it, rather than just having it, you know, freely emailed around? I mean, I think you would. And these people aren't getting paid for it. They're doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. And plus, I just think that Paint My Photo is a really awesome place, and I've never gotten any spam or anything like that from joining there. I just think it's just a group of great painters and photographers that are sharing because they care. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. I know most people didn't, you know, never would have even thought of it that way. Just like, oh, it'd be more convenient if I could just go directly to the photo. Once you've signed up at Paint My Photo, though, you will, every time you click on one of the links to go over there, it will take you directly in. Just seeing if that eye is dry. I think the eye is dry, so I'm just going in with the darker color. This brush took a little getting used to, I will tell you that. So if you have one of these and you haven't used it very much and you're finding it, you're feeling a little awkward with it, it does take a little bit of getting used to, but I think once you get used to, you know, how much pressure to put on the brush and how to hold it straight up or to the side, you'll be able to manipulate the different strokes that you can get from it. We go in and get the center of the eye while I'm at it, and if you want that darker, add a little ultramarine blue. I don't know if I really want that darker at this point. I'll be scratching a highlight out of that. I think I might have those pupils a little big. Maybe don't do your pupils so big. Like I said, I don't think I've ever painted a cat before, so so if it gets uploaded, then hopefully it turned out all right. All right, around the nose here. And generally, I'm kind of standing back so that I'm not in the way of the camera, so I would be usually having my face a lot closer to my picture. So hopefully I can get enough detail there for you. And I'm just tapping in like the row of darkness where the bristles, the whiskers come out of. That's a little dark. Just keep a paper towel handy in case you get a dark spot. And just, you know, try to, the reason I didn't make I didn't add any blue to this burnt umber is because I don't want the stripes to be really standing out too much. I want them to, I want to kind of get that texture and the coloring, but I don't want it to be like, whoa, look at those stripes. Those are stripes, all right. You know, I want them to be much more subtle. I wonder what my cat would think of this. My cat, I have a cat, it's weird to say it. My cat. Pretty soon it'll be two of my cats in a day or two. That's so funny. Me and my daughter didn't know what I would say when they came home and saying that they're gonna get another cat. She thought I'd be upset. I wasn't upset. As long as, you know, as long as everybody's committed to taking care of them. You'll notice as you're painting, as you go, your brush will have less paint in it and your markings will get lighter. So if you start in an area where you have a dark, more of a dark stripe, let's start over here. And as you go, your brush will carry less paint and then it will get lighter, so you can go into the lighter areas and add the markings there. and it won't be so, it won't stand out so much. It'll be just about perfect. Perfect. There. Ha. Cat pun. But you didn't see that coming. Alright, so basically we're doing some more of these down the back here. I went up to check on the cat while I was in the, waiting for the water pump to stop, and I got distracted and everything. But, he decided it's a girl, she decided to hang out under my bed, and that's where she's been. I think she's tired. I think she's probably used to sleeping this time of day. She was, snoozing. The kids were trying to get her to come out to meet some of their friends that they were having play date with, but she really had had enough, I think. I'm surprised at how tolerant she is of the dog. The dog's very interested in her. She hissed at her a couple times, and that was that. Hazel gets a little jealous when I'm petting the cat, and she comes right over. And the cat gets a little jealous when petting the dog already, so that'll be interesting. I am the animal whisperer. I have a knack. I don't know what it is exactly. I've got an animal knack. I think they know that's the one that's not going to let us starve. We gotta be nice to her. I always thought with the chickens it was because I was a vegetarian. They knew that befriend the vegetarian, nothing bad will come to you. Oh, it's nice to be painting, I have to say. I got I'm teaching a beginner adult class in a couple of days. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to teach. I was going to do these gourds. We started it last week, but last month. I only do this once a month, and I only had 2 students, and it was nobody finished it. And I thought, well, we'll just do it again next month. But then I'm just thinking that I'm not feeling the gourds. I don't feel like doing gourds anymore. So, and I don't like to teach something I'm not feeling like painting. That's why sometimes if I get a request and it doesn't get done right away, well, the request line is pretty long, but sometimes it's because I'm just not feeling it yet, and I kind of have to wait till I'm inspired to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to be very good of a tutorial, and I don't want to waste anybody's time watching something that's not, that doesn't have anything to offer. And you know, I know it sounds very, you know, flaky artisty of me, but that's how I feel. Though I kind of let the tail just kind of fade away into the fabric there, because I can't really see it in the photograph, and I don't want it to be really weird looking. And as I mentioned before, I've never painted a cat before, so I don't really have the experience to draw on. So I know I'm saying a lot. I know somebody's gonna comment on that and say, you really ought to stop saying so much. Oh well, it's a free video, I guess. Do a little bit of a shading under the chin there, and I think I'm gonna just pull some wisps out, maybe just a little bit of wisps up here by the ear, and I'm just flicking the tip. That's what I kind of like about this brush. I'm just kind of flicking the tip of it, and I can show you, maybe I can hold it up a little bit closer and show you. I'm just kind of, my brush, if you can just see that, it's just barely kissing the paper. I'm just flicking it. It's great for doing whiskers. Maybe that's why they call it a cat's tongue, because it's so good for painting things like whiskers. Alright, now I don't want to overdo the painting. I feel like I do need a little bit more dark around the muzzle, and I think it needs to be a little bit warmer. So I'm grabbing some of this burnt sienna, or this is, I'm sorry, light, it's either light red or English red. It's very similar to burnt sienna, just a little bit more on the red side. And I feel like I need to give it a little bit of that, more of that on the face and around the muzzle, because I don't feel like it's dark enough around there, and it's not really giving me the dimension that I think we should have there. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. I just want to make the muzzle stand out a little bit more and get the more of the coloring in there. And then I'm going to clean my brush. Please feel free to make this full screen, because I think this will, there, I'm just softening that with a damp brush. I think it will show a lot better detail and stuff if you do that on full screen. Alright, now I feel like I want to brighten up the eyes just a little bit more. A little bit of yellow ochre there. There we go. I was feeling they were a little dull before. And then I think the nose needs to be a little pinker. There we go. That looks a little bit better to me. And I feel like it got a little crooked, so I'm just kind of wiggling my brush around in there to kind of sculpt the nose back, and it's got a little bit of a marking up there. I just want to get that in there. And just kind of flick my brush up and down just to give little hairs. There. So you don't need to detail everything, you just need to detail some of it. Just a little bit of a more detail in there. Alright, so now I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to put some highlights in. And let me just pause it, dry this real quick with a heat gun, and then be right back for the final steps. Alright, I zoomed in. I dried it and zoomed in because I want you to really see what I'm doing here. I think I'm going to start with the ears, because if I mess up on the ears, it's not going to be as big of a deal as messing up on the eyes. I'm just going to scratch in some little little furs there, just, you know, catching the light. Just a few there, because I did get some decent scraping. I'm going to do the highlights in the eyes. Take a pretty good chunk there. Now you could, if this makes you nervous, you could go ahead and use some white ink or white paint. But then it wouldn't be a transparent watercolor if you did that, just so you know. I felt like the pupils were a little big, so I'm kind of compensating for that with the size of that center scratch. But I think adding the sparkle to the eyes really improves that. I gotta turn this a bit. I want to get a little bit of a sparkle. Hopefully I'm not sticking my head in my camera away. There we go. There we go. And give it a little bit of a highlight on the nose. And then a few whiskers. And I can add any of the little scratches in I want. Now the thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing any scratching with a knife is that you are damaging the paper. So if you go back in with paint in it and you go over those areas, it's going to grab the paint and make it darker when you paint over them. So I usually reserve this for my last step. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll look and I'll say, okay, I think I want to refine a little bit around the face. Like I feel like the eyes still need a little bit of something. Even though I've already scratched, I still want to go in and do something. I just feel like I need to darken it up. I want them to be the focal point. I'm going to go around that highlight a little bit. Go around the nose a little bit. I don't know. What do you think of this cat? Is this cat weird looking? Maybe a little bit. I did zoom in on the picture a little bit on the computer. That looks a little harsh. I'm not used to, I'm much more of a loose painter, so I might look at this for a bit and then be like, well, I really need to put something here or something there. I'm just going to be careful where I go in with my paint. So you can see right there, the whiskers got a little darker, where I went over it with the paint. That's alright, I'm not worried about that, but I just wanted to let you know in case you were concerned about it. And I think I'm going to call that good for now. Let's just zoom back, let you see that there. There is the cat.
Actually, you know what? I'm really not happy with this just in watercolor, so I'm going to grab my colored pencils, and I have actually, see, this is the end of my previous video. I decided I'm going to actually add some colored pencil to this, so let me grab the colored pencils, and we will use that. So here have sped it up quite a bit. I am using white Color Soft color pencil to add in some whiskers and some white fur and some highlights, and I am zooming in a little bit for you, using some kind of like a brownish peachy color for the nose. I actually reorganized my Color Soft pencils and took all my earth tones and put them in one tin, and then I took my brighter colors and put them in my other tin that I have. I'm going around with some yellow ochre around the eyes. I'm just trying to kind of get some more detail and some warmth, and the face looked just kind of weird to me. So I just thought that rather than not be happy with a painting and keeping it a transparent watercolor, I would add colored pencils. And there I'm just using some dark brown colored pencil to enhance the depth around the eyes and under the mouth and in some of the stripes. And just kind of adding little touches here and there. It's, you know, sometimes you have to do that to a picture if it doesn't come out the way you want. I apologize for how long this video is. I know it's like almost an hour. I'm just sharpening that up so I can have a little more of a fine point on that, and putting in some more individual hairs. I don't want to go too crazy with a colored pencil because then I'm gonna lose all the loose watercolorness that I like. And I think that's kind of what I don't like about the picture, was that I got a little too fussy with the watercolor. And so now, at least with the colored pencil, I can sharpen up what needs to be sharpened up, and I can leave some of it alone. There's a little gray to add into the shadows and onto the white areas of fur, and a little bit in the ears there. And I'm going back in with the white just to bring out some of the little highlights and tufts of light hair. And I'm adding a little bit of white into the eyes. I wasn't really happy with the color there, so I did grab my other box of Color Soft pencils and grab some of this kind of lime green color to add in. Now, the reason I'm not using a different brand, I probably would have generally gone for my Prismacolors first, but I don't have too many Color Soft, so I knew I would have just enough to do this there. And also I have older Prismacolors, which are fantastic, but their quality control has dropped a bit lately, and I know the Color Soft pencils are really consistent in quality, so I decided to use those. But you can use whatever you have. You could use Crayolas, you could use whatever. I'm just adding some more detail with this dark brown around the mouth and the whiskers and around the ears a little bit. It's just pretty much just fussing here and there and, you know, touching things up. Nothing fancy there. And sometimes, if your watercolor doesn't go the way you want, grab your colored pencils. Why not? I'll zoom out a little bit. I'm not going to do too much to the rest of the body. I'm just going to define some of the stripes and just add a little touch here and there. But I really just wanted to make the face the focal point, and I felt like it just wasn't. I felt like I kind of lost that with the watercolor, and so there, yeah, that's what I'm doing with a colored pencil. And you can see why I sped it up, because listening to me narrate this in real time would have been a huge snore. Actually, I wasn't even talking because there was so much commotion going on around the house when I was doing the colored pencil part. But hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And for those of you guys who were disappointed in the shorter videos this week, I hope this makes a little bit of an amends to you. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other watercolor videos if you are inspired to do more. That's me just signing my name at the bottom anyway. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, happy crafting!